All right, thanks, General. Democratic Senator John Fetterman praising President Trump for doing, quote, what's right and necessary to produce real peace in the region. He sits on the Homeland Security Committee and joins us now. Senator, thanks so much for getting up this morning.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
So, Senator, there are some on your side of the aisle, and to be frank, some of Republicans that don't agree with this action as well. But you support the president's action here. Why?
Well, because that was always the right thing. I mean, you can just put out, tweets and statements, to support peace, but to actually create real peace, you have to do these kinds of actions just like happened. Just like last year, too, when they to destroy their nuclear facilities. Sometimes peace is possible after these kinds of steps, and that's why I support those things. And I listened to my colleague from South Carolina earlier, and I even had the option, to talk to him before the State of the Union speech, and I encouraged it as well. And so I fully support these kinds of things, and I'm proud to stand with our military and Israel through this, and that was the right thing.
Yeah, you posted on X, you said, Operation Epic Fury, President Trump has been willing to do what's right and necessary to produce real peace in the region. God bless the United States, our great military, and Israel. You have others like Thomas Massey who wrote this: acts of war unauthorized by Congress. The U.S. is attacking Iran, according to the AP. What is your response to Massey and to your colleagues who don't agree with this?
Well, that's bizarre. I'd like to remind my colleague over in the House that Iran massacred 30,000 of their own people right now. This war is not about the Iranian people. It's about this poisonous regime. And that's why I'm proud to stand with our military. I'm proud to stand with Israel, too. I might be a Democrat, but in this specific case, the president is absolutely correct to do these kinds of actions. And now we have Israel's back. And now that's why it's entirely the path for peace in that region. How many treaties, how much negotiation? I never thought they would work. Iran has only ever responded to these kinds of things. And now here we are right now, and they have the opportunity, real peace, and to change their way, committed to trying to destroy Israel and destabilizing the entire region. These were things are necessary.
Senator, it's the first time we've ever had sustained joint action with Israel, and their military, pound for pound, as good as any in the world. They've been very impressive. We watched what they've done in the last 3 years. But you know who's not there? Our European allies. France, really a benign statement. The UK makes it clear that they're not part of this operation. Do they not understand what's happened since 1979? Do they not care about 35,000 people dead on the hands of their own regime? But they were quick to condemn what's happening in Gaza, what they claimed was happening in Gaza. Your thoughts about the disparity?
I agree. There were hostages held underground in Gaza, and they now were calling to recognize Palestine. So I'm not surprised that they might kind of say these kinds of meaningless kinds of statement. They should all just lean in on now and stand with America and Israel through this. Why can't we all agree that the Iranian regime has to fall? And now the only thing the Iranian regime clearly can do is just kill its own people, and they were committed to do that. So for me, if these allies can just kind of back away or say, I wasn't involved on that, well, that's entirely to them. But that's why America and Israel had to make this choice. And for me, it's really easy, and it's just about country over party, but it's also about peace over just empty kinds of treating and those kinds of negotiations that never worked since 1979.
So, Senator, we're getting notice from reports that Marco Rubio did call the Gang of Eight to give them a heads up that this operation was happening. From a congressional standpoint, what do you want to hear from the administration about, since this has the potential of lasting weeks, what do you want to hear from them?
Well, if we don't know how long it would last, but I would look back what happened in June when Israel had the war against Iran, and it took just a couple days for Iran to beg for a ceasefire. Israel was able to to achieve air supremacy after like 2 to 3 days. So, we see how long will last. But now America here right now is in the part of that. And Iran targets were being effectively picked off. And now I think I even saw a report where Iranian people were laughing when they saw a report that the leader's compound was just obliterated to part of it.
I'm seeing that too on social media.
The supreme leader.
Yeah. So we were told that we were going in to strike the ballistic missile sites to make sure they don't have these ballistic missiles, that they're not working on an intercontinental missile that could target us, and that Israel was going in to attack the commanders, the Ayatollah, the president, and some of their people, some of the leaders. What is your knowing? And we heard General Jack Keane say the intel on these individuals is so, quote, exquisite, he said. He said he didn't want to go into it, but we know where these individuals are. Did they have time? Do you think we got them? And if we did, when would we hear that? And it wasn't really a secret that this was going to happen. There were rumblings all over the news. We all knew that this could happen after the State of the Union address. But when will we find out if they were killed? And how much do you think they stayed in their homes and wherever, or did they go to hiding?
Well, what I do know, what's the fact that the Israeli intelligence is outstanding always. Look exactly what they did last year. They didn't have to take out the entire building. They actually took out the guys' bedrooms, and they just eliminated all the nuclear scientists and the leadership throughout all that. That's a demonstration of Israel's capabilities. Mm-hmm. And now we have here America standing there where a lot of the kinetic kinds of brute force in that region as well now, too. I think that partnership, whether the Israeli intelligence and that kind of very specific kinds of things, and the American firepower there, that's what seems to be pretty effective right now thus far here.
Senator, thanks for putting the country over party. Senator. Always great to have you on. And I look forward to talking to you along the way, because this will be a sustained campaign. It's not going to be days. It's going to be weeks. Senator John Fetterman from Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Senator.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.